Hello, yes, that's right. It's Joe here for Joyrider TV, live from the all-new Joyrider TV studios here in Greece. And welcome to everybody who's already on board. So hello to Mark, watching from Ohio, hoping to get an early spring, just itching to get out on the 16 for 2023. Oh, yes, much in agreement there. Who else have we got on board? We've got Cucks Ollie on board. Hello, everyone. Oh, quick question here from Cucks Ollie. He polishes his catamaran, that is, not the cat. That would be quite strange. And he says it's hard work to get good results. Does anybody polish his cat? And what method do they use? Well, the method that we use on the rare occasions that our boats get polished is we use a polishing machine rather than just the hand. The polishing machine it depends how often you polish your boat, whether you can justify the expense. But I think you get a polishing machine for about $30 or $40, and it will last forever. The less you polish your boat, the longer it's going to last. There you go. Yeah, it makes it much easier. I find the most difficult bit is actually the bending over. Oh, gets the lower back. Yes, it does. Okay. But if anybody else has got any good boat polishing ideas, then chuck them in and put them in the comments below or in the live chat if you're here at the moment. That would be great. All right. Then Mark says, have you ever used Traveller Tamer on the Hobie 16 main Traveller car? This replaces the standard sheaves with larger ones with ball bearings. I didn't even know that such a thing existed. So if perhaps Mark or anybody else who's used one, if you could send me a picture of it, then perhaps in next week's Q&A, I can draw a picture of it on the board, and perhaps we can see if they've got them for sale at Murray's or somewhere similar. And then if it really does work that well, everybody can start using them. What a great idea. Let's make it easier. I think that is one of the keys of going sailing, how to get more enjoyment out of your sailing. One way, make it easier. So do as much work as you can while you've got time to your boat to put on some kind of labor-saving devices so that it's not quite as much hard work, or just make sure everything is running smoothly. You've got a grinding block. If anybody saw the FX1 video from Wednesday this week, you'll notice that the spinnaker hoist was kind of like 1 minute it's down, then it's up. It's because the actual footage of that spinnaker hoist is pretty horrendous, because we had a burnt out block at the top of the mast. When a block is burnt out, it means that the plastic sheath on the inside of the pulley has actually worn through from the rope. So basically, you're just pulling the rope against that burnt out pulley, making the process extremely hard, like two hands. And it's like, so I cut it out of the video. Didn't think it was particularly good viewing. Yes, there we are. As well, of course, as the FX1 video, I hope everybody has checked out Show Us Your Cat from last Sunday. What an epic episode. So many boats. Of course, if you want the next episode of Show Us Your Cat to come a bit sooner, then send me some pictures or video of your boat. And once I've got enough boats to show, I'll put the next episode together. That's how it's working at the moment. All right. Who else is checking in? We've got Toot checking in from Texas. Bit cold here. Wanting to break out the NACRA 5.7. Yeah, I think it really is this time of year when it's like, I want to get my boat out, please. Um, yeah, we are really here at Wildwind Sailing Holidays, Greece. We are on the verge of receiving 4 Hobie 16s, which were from the World Championships last year, which effectively makes them new, but maybe even better than new, because the masts will already be rigged. When you get a new boat from Hobie, every single component part is separate in a little bag, and probably with some sort of one those ties round them as well. And it just to get everything unpacked out of the bags when it's a brand new boat can take as much as, I don't know, 45 minutes or something. Also better than new because they've got stickers on from the World Championships. Now that is very exciting. World Championship sails, World Championship stickers, and we've got 4 of those bad boys. Yes, can't wait. All right, we've got Ryan on board in Maui, Hawaii. He says, yes, that's right, Friday AM, and it's early. Hello from the Pacific. Great to have you on board, Ryan. As always, if you want to get cool emojis to use like Ryan's got, just become a channel member of Joyrider TV. It'll be beneath every single video. It will say something like join. I think it says join. Hit join and you can join. It'll cost you though, but that means that maybe I can buy a new computer. Yes, eventually. All right, we've got Leland Lee on board, who is referring to the Traveller Smoother for the 16. He says, yes, it works really well. Easing sheeting in and out. Easier and smoother. Lee is there in Clearwater, Florida, of course. We've got Chris on board in Texas. Great to have you with us, Chris. Always a pleasure. I dare say Chris is on some sort of small ship doing some sort of proper ship work on the ocean. We've got Mishi on board. What's up, man? We got Toot who says, have you kids do the polishing? Yeah, generally. I don't call them kids because that's disrespectful. I call them instructors. The guys who work on the beach, they would generally be doing the polishing rather, because I'm getting on a bit and my back isn't what it used to be. I think that's fair. All right, Herbert's on board. Happy new sail year. Thanks, Herbert, and to you too. We've got Hanny with us from Amsterdam. Hi, Hanny. Have you been and come back from Mauritius? Let us know. Right, Max is on board as well. In Rosenheim, Germany, Bavaria. He says hello to the worldwide cat sailor community. Everyone is here today. It's great to see that we are keeping the spirit of adventure and catamaran sailing alive. Very nice. All right, Toot says, everybody, thumbs up, please. Yeah, if you are checking in, a great way of supporting Joyrider Chivi is just to hit the like button whenever you watch a video. It's not going to mean you get a load of junk mail or anything like that. It's just going to mean that more people will have that video promoted to them. Also, on that kind of news, I'm about 30 subscribers away from the next milestone of subscribers. So if you are watching and you're not yet subscribed, hit the subscribe button and become the 27,000th subscriber. Won't that be a great moment? Oh, yes, it will. All right, Rick's on board. Great to have you with us, Rick. Cebu, Thomas, greetings from Germany. Joe, I need a Hobie 16 at the 17th of May. I'm happy to see Wildwind Crew in May 2023. Oh, yes, we will certainly have one for you on the beach. Incidentally, if you are shopping for a boat at the moment and you fancy a little spring break in Greece, we have got still remaining. I know this is going to sound unbelievable, but we've still got 2 16s left for sale. So if you want a Hobie 16, these boats have got 1 season old sails. Very nice indeed. Those are the sails that you can see in most of the videos that have been coming out last year. Then we have got 2 boats like that for sale. So get in touch. Charlie Sailing is on board. Hey, Charlie, great to have you with us. All right, Rick says, what a great channel you have. Thank you. Thank you very much. Can't wait to go sailing, but we have snow and -10 in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Sail on Lake Winnipeg at Victoria Beach Yacht Club. There's some cold weather about at the moment. Hate to say this, but it's been absolute champagne plus all week here in the south of the island. But unfortunately, I'm still off the water, having had surgery quite recently. But it's been like probably 20 to 30 knots every day onshore. Small waves would have been absolutely cooking, but not this time. There will be other days. That's what we have to remember. All right, Chris says, remember all. Oh, here we go. This is news in, very important to know. But the, how do you pronounce that? Ides or Ides of March Regatta in Somerville, Texas is on March 25th, 26th. We will have a raffle and giveaways. Already have 6 boats signed up. Do you want to know what those 6 boats are? I think you do. There's a Hobie 20 Tornado, 2 Prindle 19s, 2 Hobie 18s. So can you get to Somerville, Texas towards the end of March? If you can, you've got a boat, put it on the trailer and get involved, sign up for that regatta. I really do think this is the year to get your boat out, put it on a trailer, go to an event. If you've never done an event before, apparently 2023 is going to be one of the best years ever for events. Oh, yes. I'm going to get mine out and go to an event later in the summer, hopefully, if I can raise the funds to do it. The Tornado World Championships are going to be on the notoriously expensive Lake Como, Italy. You know, the bit in the prequels, the Star Wars prequels, where Anakin goes with Padme for their romance stuff next to a lake. That's Lake Como. Yeah. You know, if I was there, I'd have been flying a hole. Possibly. Anyway, yeah, so get involved. It's event year. We've also got very exciting, the Hobie 16, I believe, North Americans coming up in the summer as well. There'll be more information about that as we move forwards. And Brett is on board. Brett from Whitstable, down in the southeast of the UK. Not sure if you've covered this recently, but any tips on the Hobie 16 bottom job? The shingle beach has gone through the gel coat on my keels. Ooh, yeah. To be honest, I have said this before, but this sort of fiberglass stuff is not my field of expertise, unfortunately. But what I've seen is a lot of sailors who do frequently pull their boats up the beach rather than trying to do an invisible repair on that kind of keel or skeg line of the boat. Instead of putting a piece of glass, sorry, I haven't got much board at the moment. I've prepared something. So if that's the bottom of your hull, then to actually put like a 2-inch wide piece of glass right down the keel line and epoxy that on, or polyester, I don't know what's best for that one, but and then you've actually got kind of like a sacrificial rubbing strip on the keel line rather than risking rubbing through the actual hull and it going through to the glass. That is all that I can give as recommendations there. But what I do know is, like with any repairs that you might do for your boat, very important is preparation. Make sure before you start anything, any loose bits of anything, like any bits that are moving, get rid of those before you start. Otherwise, you're sticking the new stuff to basically a surface that isn't very strong. All right. So Chris says, continuing about the Ides of March regatta, we also have a B fleet for those with less than 5 years racing experience. This really is tempting if you haven't raced before to get involved. There'd be like-minded sailors and have your own fleet, so you don't need to be getting shouted at by people who are experienced racecourse people. All right, Charlie says, hello from the UK, the Solent. Yeah, great to have you with us, Charlie. I bet it's fairly choppy in the Solent these days, this time of year. All right, Max said, Hanny, you should be on your way to Mauritius. Yes, so Hanny's off to Mauritius on Sunday for 3 weeks. Now, that is a good holiday. I hope you have a lovely time. All right. All right, all right. Mr. Tony KP is on board from a car wash in Ebeltoft, Denmark. Great to have you with us. Hope your car is going to come out shiny and it's not going to rain tomorrow. Very good. All right, Andrew says, all right, any tips on gel coat application? Yeah, similar. It's, again, I'm not an expert with this stuff, but what you can do, what you need to do is, before anything like this, preparation. It's all about the preparation. And then the finish with the gel coat, I think, I hate to say this, but there are possibly 1,000 videos on YouTube done by professionals who say exactly how to do these repairs professionally. I know actually on the Goodall Design, those are the builders of the C2 and the Acura, the Viper, on their YouTube channel, they've got some really good videos about these sort of repairs where they walk you through it step by step. Also, incidentally, on that channel, I don't know if it's called Goodall Design. It's probably called Goodall Design. But there's also videos about repairing daggerboards and rudder blades. Very useful. So I would head over there to get some good advice rather than bad advice from me, or perhaps less informed advice. All right. So the Hobie 20 North Americans in mid-June also. All right. We're talking events. Yeah. Sorry, I don't know where any of these events are off the top of my head. Right, we've got Stephen on board from Grafham Water, which is actually where I used to work before I headed out to Greece. Like to come out in May this year. Are the winds generally as good as later in the summer? Well, to be honest, I really wouldn't like to say at this stage in the game, because the winter has been really quite peculiar. It went from being really warm, like almost sort of late summer warm, where you could be out at night without a jumper on, not a coat, a jumper. It was that warm in the evenings. And but then last week it went to really pretty cold, where they were getting a frost up on the hills. Frost, yeah, that's cold. And now we've got this very warm kind of almost not tropical feeling, but almost, because it's warm, wet and windy at the moment. And this is all pretty unusual compared to the previous years. As previous years, January, just cold, flat out cold. That's all. Whereas this year, all over the shop, which means predicting what the summer's going to be like. But what you're asking is historically, what is May like? Now, May out here is one of the best months to come out. I could tell you why. Now, most of the windsurfing clubs aren't open in May, which means that you've got the whole bay just to express yourself. It's a bit of a balance because at the start of the season, fewer windsurfers, but perhaps a less reliable wind. You're still going to get a couple of days a week of absolute champagne sailing conditions, but not like in August where we'd be looking at every single day champagne. But then in August, we get a significant amount of windsurfers out in the bay, which does make it, especially close in, feel a bit more congested. So there really is a bit of a payoff, compromise. What would you rather, less traffic or more wind? Yeah, but May has been absolutely superb in the past. And personally, I really enjoy having less traffic. The water is generally a bit colder than it is later in the season. So you would need, I'd say the ideal would be like a summer suit. A summer suit is what we call long legs, short arms wetsuit. A summer suit. And then if you've got a spray top, then you would be very well equipped. All right. So I think before proceeding with any more of the live chat, I'm just going to go through my first of the preloaded questions, because at the moment, this beautiful picture that I drew earlier, I thought I draw it ahead of time, just to save a bit of drawing time. Yeah, I'll crack on, shall I? Yes. All right. So this is from BKGS 2. I think this must have been a comment on another video. Sorry, I can't. This was actually from a couple of weeks ago. I'm wanting to do away with the spinnaker pole. Do you have another way of running the self-tacking jib without it? I was thinking of running the turn around the block that is on the pole to a point on the mast. Would love to know your thoughts. Yes. Okay. So what we'll start off with is we'll just look at the fairly standard self-tacking jib arrangement that we might have. So here we have got a boat. It's clearly labeled. I think you've probably already had a look at these labels. So we've got the spinnaker pole here, the jib, the front beam. Here we've got the track that the car runs on. And so just so if you don't know, a self-tacking jib really does do what it says on the tin. It is a jib that when you tack or jibe, it will automatically go across to the new side, which means, especially on the downwind, if you're sailing a boat with a spinnaker, it means there's one less job for the crew to do on the jibes. They don't have to do the jib. But the same with tacking, it means no need to do the jib. So, but traditionally, you do need a spinnaker pole or some way of mounting a block up here to make the self-tacking jib work. So this is the traditional route for the rope. There are two ropes involved. So the first one goes from the block, which is attached to the car, up to the clew of the jib, back to the car. Good so far. All right. And then it goes right the way up to the block forwards on the pole. And then that line finishes on what you might call a floating block. So that just ties off on this block here. Of course, rope lengths are quite important. I've made a video about this from when I last redid all of our Hobie Tigers here at Wildwind. So that is the first line. And then the second line, the one that we actually use for pulling the sail in, we have it done on a takeaway system. So the takeaway system goes into the front beam. Again, I've made 2 videos on how to make a takeaway system. And then it will go, so out of the takeaway system through the cleat. So you can actually sheet it in from the side that you're sitting on or either side. It doesn't matter. It's totally continuous. So that goes through the sheet, through a turning block. This would actually be further back here, but for convenience of drawing, it's not. There we are. And then that one goes up through this block, down there, under the track, and then through there, finishing off again in the front beam. So that is the traditional self-tacking jib arrangement that we're using. There is one way you can do it differently, and that is instead of having your purchase here, you can actually put your purchase here. So this would go round here, round here, round again, and then onto this floating block. And the reason that can be beneficial is it means if you don't have so much space between the clew of the jib and the car, like I know in tornadoes, this space here is really tight. If you're wanting to really crank it in, it's tight. I'm just saying it's tight. So losing that bit of purchase there can be really handy, because then this line just goes round the block and ties off on the jib itself tighter. So that is the traditional method. So option A for if you don't want a spinnaker pole because you're not going to use a spinnaker, but you do want to have the self-tacking jib, then this is going to sound quite brutal. But what we're going to do is just chop the pole off. So we've still got enough pole to mount all the gear. This is option A. Now, option B, I really couldn't say how option B is going to work because I've never actually tried it. All right, so if this is our track, let's just say this is the corner of the jib, then let's see what we can do here. So actually I drew myself a picture earlier, excuse me. Oh. Here we go. All right, yeah, because I had to work this out, see how it would work, but I drew myself a picture. So we have a block on the clew of the jib, and then we have a block here and a block there, and then we'd have, this would be our front beam like this. Everybody with me so far? Yes, I hear you cry. So the rope, this would be completely continuous. So these blocks, by the way, are on the car that runs up and down the track. So again, maybe we've got it up the beam. Yeah, so through the cleat. So into the beam, and then round this block here, under the track, through this block. I think you can see what's going to happen here. And then through the cleat here. Now, I'm not sure how well this will work, because I think when you sheet in, although the rope should just run through, there is a chance that when you sheet in from this side, for example, you're going to pull the whole lot over to this side, which you don't want. So that would possibly work. Now, the one other method which works really well, and this is actually the method that we used before self-tacking jibs were like common to have on catamarans. We designed a self-gybing jib for the Hobie Tiger for competitions, so that when we jibe, we didn't have to do the jib. And this one was, again, let's have the front beam on there. On the upwind, we just used the jib sheet as normal, but then on the downwind, and you are going to be amazed by how simple this is, we just put a block on the clew of the jib, and then bit of rope there. Easy. So this is a self-jibing jib. What is important is that we get this length of rope just right. If it's too short, the jib will be oversheeted. If it's too loose, the jib will just be flapping. But what happens when we're racing and we wanted to use this system is we'd go round the top mark of the race course, let the sheets off both sides completely, and then the jib would be held by this line, but it would be blown out to the side. So this would end up being out here like this. It will naturally come to a point there. Granted, the sheeting angle not completely perfect, but still pretty good. And then when we jibe, it just goes across easy. And all it costs is one block, bit of string. So there we go. All right. Just going to take a quick commercial break. Yes. Hello, it's Joe here from Joyrider TV. If you'd like to support Joyrider TV, head over to totaljoyrider.com and get yourself a Joyrider t-shirt like this little number. This is a Giving It the Beans F18 t-shirt. I've got hanging up over there the Tequila Sunset t-shirt, which is a brand new design, which I'm actually quite pleased with. Or if your head is cold, why not have a beanie? Works well, keeps the head warmer. Thanks very much, Toot, for the elevator music. All right, and by the way, Hanny, cheerio. Have a good trip. Hope you have a great time. Okay, so back to the live chat. Let's see. So Andrew says, I've been struggling with my confidence after a few solo capsizes. Any tips for getting back to being brave? Yeah, I think the big confidence booster is to know that you can bring your boat back upright when it does go over. I find if I'm out sailing with no safety cover and no sort of capsize writing assistant on like a 16, and strangely when it's not quite so windy, because once the wind hits a certain amount, like 20 knots, 25 knots, the boat will come up very easily just with one person. Most boats you'll be able to bring upright, but when the wind is lighter, it takes a lot more weight to bring the boat back upright. And the big game changer for me was the writing bag. Basically, if you haven't seen it, the writing bag is just a bag as it sounds, which 50-litre bag, which after capsizing, you just attach it to your righting line with a pulley and then fill it with water, hoist it out of the water using the pulley, put it behind your back while you go lean out, and then the extra weight of the righting bag, 50-litre bag, doesn't generally take 50 litres of water, probably 40 at the most, but that adds 40 kilos to your body weight, which means for me anyway, 50, about 30 kilos more puts my weight up to 120, and that is enough to write a Hobie 16 solo in no wind at all. The less wind there is, the more weight you need. So that is the most weight I'd ever need. So if you're lighter, get a bigger bag. If you're a bit heavier, you don't put so much water in it, that kind of thing. But that really was a big game changer for me. I think it's more practical than the pole or the plank or anything like that, or a frame, because all you need is a bag, and the bag can just be rolled up, put in a pocket on the trampoline. Very practical. But it's knowing that you can bring the boat back upright, which gives you the confidence to push the boat harder. The Ides of March, Toot says, death of Caesar. There we are. All right, we got Jens on board. Hello, Jens. Great to have you with us. Lee's on board as well, joining a little late, but not to worry, Lee. We've got Francis on board as well. Great to have you with us. Scott is dropping it in the slot. All right, Chris says the Hobie 20 Nationals are in Oklahoma City. Do you sail a Hobie 20? Do you live in the USA? Are you able to get to Oklahoma City? Then you should go to the Nationals. There we are. Duke is on board, says, oh, yes. I agree. Oh, yes. All right. So Duke asks, do you ever tack by sitting on the corner of the boat and spinning around? Not quite sure what you mean, but what I think you mean is, do you ever tack by, here's the boat, by getting your weight right to the corner. So when you tack, so the wind is of course coming from the top, so we're going to go this way. When you tack, one of the hulls is going to travel further than the other hull. So the hull that you're sitting on at the start, this hull is not going to be going through the water as much as this hull. This hull's is on the outside, so it's got to do, I don't know if it's double the distance, but it's certainly more distance. So it works really well to load this hull with all of your crew weight before you start turning. If you really want to get the best possible tack, get the helm and the crew to stay on this hull for as long as possible, just to speed things up. And then I think what Duke's talking about, sitting on the corner, is getting right to the back. So concentrating the weight back here. Of course, we wouldn't want to do that if it was windy, because if it was windy, the front of the boat would come out of the water, wind would get under the trampoline, and we risk the backwards capsize. We wouldn't want to be doing that now. But in the lighter wind, get to the back, this is going to raise the bows and mean that there's, like, if we're turning like this through the water like this, there's a lot more resistance there than if we're going like that. And then we're pivoting the boat on those transoms to a certain degree. So, yes, it is something that we do, but not so much when it's blowing. There we go. We've got Hans on board. Hello, Hans. Guten Tag. Great to have you with us, as always. Right, Coley's on board. Thanks for all the information. very helpful, as I just purchased my first Hobie 16. Welcome to the club of having a lovely time. I think it is an absolute life-changing experience, is getting a catamaran. And if you, I don't know if that's your first catamaran, but getting a Hobie 16 really is a life-changing experience, because when you've got spare time, you could just be out on the water, either sending it, racing, relaxing, fishing, taking out friends, just having a whole day on the beach where you go out sailing, come back in, have a barbecue, that kind of thing. Very nice indeed. What a great idea. Sit on the stern of one whole boat spins round. Duke says, yeah, that's what we're talking about here. Perfect. Oh yeah, Coley can't wait. Great stuff. Okay, so on to the next preloaded question. And this one comes from Colmac, who asks, could you explain some of the adjustments you do, like lifting your daggerboards, loosening the outhaul, downhaul, etc.? Yes, I think we could talk about that. So firstly, let's tell the story of the daggerboards. So firstly, there are daggerboards and there are centreboards. These are two different things which are quite similar. They do the same job, but we wouldn't quite use them in the same way. So a daggerboard goes all the way through the hull. It's like the hull has been stabbed. Yes. And these go up and down. So this would go up like this or down like this. So daggerboards we would adjust while we're sailing. Whereas centreboards generally a bit shorter and fatter. These are on a pivot and these pivot up into the hull. With centreboards, while we're sailing, we'll just leave them down the whole time, because if we try altering it while we're sailing, if we bring this back to here, we're bringing our center of lateral resistance back. I think we might have talked about this last week. So the center of lateral resistance would go to here, which means the boat would be absolutely horrible to steer, because the center of effort would be further forwards than the center of lateral resistance. So very quick drawing, center of effort around here. We never want to have the center of effort further forwards than the center of lateral resistance, because what that does is means if we stop holding the stick, the boat will turn downwind. And so it means we have to push the stick away all of the time just to keep it going straight. And that is not the game that we're playing. So centreboards just always down unless you're coming into the beach. Daggerboards, however, first one is if we're just using the daggerboards for point of sail, when we're sailing upwind, we'll have them all the way down. When we're sailing downwind, we'll have them not all the way up, but what we'll do is, the ideal is to take a measurement and what we want on the downwind is the same. We want this measurement here to be the same as the amount of rudder that we've got here. So let's say that is don't know, 50 centimeters. And then, so we'd want that to be the same. So that would be our downwind setting. So what we do when we found the way to measure it would be to put the boat on its side, slot the daggerboard in, and do your measurements. And you don't have to do both sides because in theory, both of your daggerboards are the same. So you can measure one, mark it up with a permanent pen, then take it out, lay it on top of the other daggerboard, and off we go. Then we know. So we've got a line on there to say that is our downwind position. Lovely. The reason we have them lifted for downwind is on the downwind, we don't need as much leeway prevention. Two reasons. One is on the downwind, we're going with the wind more, which means we're not getting pushed sideways as much. But the second reason is on the downwind, we're going much, much faster, which means the foils, which is the general term for rudders and daggerboards, other way around, the foils are working much better, generating much more lift on the downwind because we're going faster, which means we don't need as much in the water. So don't popular misconception is that foils are only when we're talking about boats which hydrofoil, like the A-class, like the Nacra 17. No, everything that goes in the water, all of your rudders, all of your centreboards, daggerboards, they are all foils. But the term foiling has just been an abbreviation of hydrofoiling because it's a bit wordy. All right. Oh, God, that was that's a livener. Okay, so down for upwind, up for downwind. Yeah, thanks, Toot. And then when we're reaching, so sailing on a half wind course, beam reaching, we'd have them not quite as far up, but anywhere between half of that. So the next line that we'd have would be about there. So about halfway from here to all the way down, generally speaking, for our beam reaching course. Now, the difference comes when it starts getting very windy. If it's windy and you're getting overpowered, perhaps you've got a lightweight team, very strong wind, then what we can do on the upwind, rather than putting the daggerboards all the way down, we'll bring them up a bit, just like about 15 centimeters, a foot, bring them up by a foot. And what that does is it allows the boat to slip sideways a bit. So some of the energy that we're getting, what would be happening if they're all the way down, is that would just be encouraging the hull to fly more. Whereas with the daggerboards up a bit, the boat can slip sideways a little bit. There won't be as much in the water creating drag. We'll be going faster and it will be easier to sail. And that goes for the beam reach as well. But on the downwind, it would still be the same amount because we've taken the measurement and that is the most efficient. It's about balance. So there we go. I hope that helps, Colmac. That is the daggerboards explained. Next, rig settings. So the first one and the most important is the downhaul. So when we first put our sail up and we've got it locked up at the top, when the sail is locked up, then and you look up at the sail without any downhaul on, the sail will be hanging like just creased up, no shape to it, just limp. So to put shape into the sail, we want to put on a minimum amount of downhaul. So if the wind is light, we want the minimum amount of downhaul. So the way that we can determine that is, for light winds, is if you pull in the main sheet so that it's quite tight, not cranked, but quite tight. If you know how much main sheet you generally pull in when you sail upwind in a light wind, then that much. But pull it in quite tight, which would mean one arm, pull it as hard as you can, not both arms. On the beach, do that, and the sail will become even more creased. So then with the downhaul, what we can do is pull it on until we've got rid of most of those creases. 90% of the creases gone, and you'll see the shape come into the sail. That is our minimum amount of downhaul that we're going to use. So what I would do on any boat, after I've established the minimum amount of downhaul, this will change if you change your mainsail, of course, is once we know where the minimum is, let's say you've got a handy hole in the sail just there, which maybe the downhaul rope goes through, who knows? Once you've got that on the minimum, put a mark on the mast, and then you know that is the minimum setting for the downhaul. There we go. So the minimum setting is going to work for us in light winds. Then if we pull the downhaul any harder, what that is going to do, so this is maximum curve in the sail, but as we pull the downhaul beyond there, what it's going to do is flatten the sail, and it's going to bring the center of effort, the most curved part of the sail, down and forwards. So this is very good. So it's going to open up the leech, and it's going to mean that the curved part of the sail is going to become just this bit, and then this bit is going to be more flat, which is going to make the sail much more efficient and much easier to work with as the wind gets stronger. So that is why we're pulling the downhaul on harder as the wind increases. When the wind is very strong and you're flying a hull consistently, you really, really want to pull the downhaul as hard as you can. Both hands on the downhaul. And if it's an old boat, hope that the fittings don't rip out the mast. But the more downhaul you pull on, the easier the boat will be to sail and the faster it will go. So there we go. And then, so that's basically the story of the downhaul. More wind, pull it harder. Then it's very windy, pull it as hard as you can, and then a bit more. Oh yeah. All right. So the outhaul, or Unterlegstrecke, if you like. What we do with the outhaul is, when we're doing the outhaul and the downhaul, always bring the downhaul on first, because if you pull the outhaul tight first, what happens is when you downhaul the sail, you're actually stretching the bottom of the sail even more, which means when you sheet in, you can actually rip your sail, usually around here. I found this out the hard way, but I'm here to let you know the easy way without having to damage your sail. So never outhaul the sail before you downhaul it. And then with the outhaul, what you want is just to have the bottom of the sail a little bit flatter than the next batten up. There we go. So generally like a hand's width between the boom and the bottom of the sail. And then what's really nice is because when we downhaul the sail, it stretches the bottom. It means once we've set the outhaul once, we don't have to worry about it again, because when we pull the downhaul, that is actually going to automatically bring the outhaul tighter. The one time when we would want to have the outhaul looser is if we're sailing in big waves, then we will have it looser, and that's going to give us more shape down low in the sail, which is going to help to drive us through those waves. But otherwise, a little bit flatter is optimal. There we go. All right, let's just see what's been going on in the live chat. Marcelo is on board. Hello, everybody. Hello, Marcelo. From zero to foil. I believe this is foil, meaning foiling, like lifting out of the water. Greetings from Berlin, Germany. All right. Scott is saying he may be in the Texas area in April. How best to get in touch with someone for a ride along? Oh, yes. I'm surprised more people aren't doing this and using the Joyrider TV community as a kind of like an exchange scheme, where if you're going somewhere else, find out if someone's there with a boat, say, can I come out for a spin? And then when they come to your neck of the woods, you can pay it back. Very nice. All right, we got Joaquin on board. Hi, great to have you with us. Toot says, I was playing with my 14, tried wing and wing. Why won't it work? Wing and wing is what I think it's traditionally called goosewinging, which would be if, here's the wind, here is the boat, and to goosewing your boat, you have to sail directly downwind. It really does have to be straight downwind. So you'd have the mainsail out one side and then the jib out the other side. And this might be why it didn't work for you, Toot. Maybe you weren't sailing absolutely straight downwind, but that's the only time when it'll work. Because if you come ever so slightly this way, the jib will just go back onto the other side. And if you go slightly the other way, then you'll probably jibe. So sailing dead downwind like that, it is quite if it's windy, it's quite dodgy, because you can have an accidental jibe. We used to do it quite a lot when I was learning sailing on mono hulls. But what we do is, if we were doing this, we'd have somebody probably sitting here holding on to the boom just to make sure that it can't jibe. You can't, of course, do that on a catamaran because there's a bit too much force to resist it. But that would be why I think it wasn't working. Even if it does work, it's not a particularly quick way to sail. But in certain situations, you might find that going straight downwind gets you to where you're going sooner. Those situations would be if the wind is very, very light. And then to make it happen, what you want to do is get your weight really, really far forwards, like right up here, if there's two of you. And then what that will do is really, the mast will come really upright, which will present loads of sail area to the wind. It will reduce the drag because you'll be taking most of the hull out of the water, and you should only have the tips of your rudder blades in. But when you're doing that, it is very difficult to steer, so only in very light wind. All right, we've got Baptiste on board in France. Great to have you with us. And we've got Marcelo. I'm learning a lot. Thanks, everybody. Thanks for joining in and coming along. Okay, Ryan in Maui says, I'm going to rig my Hobie 14 project rebuild this weekend. Still need to locate rudders though. The ones I've found with the hulls are cracked in several places. Exciting stuff. Oh yes, we're looking forward to seeing the results of that. Okay. So, Toot says, this is good information actually. Hill Country Sailing Club has 2 Hobie 16s to loan out for visiting sailors. Very nice. So I dare say that's in Texas. So if you're going to Hill Valley, that's where Back to the Future was, I think. Hill Country Sailing Club, then you can get Hobie 16 to sail on. Okay, Dobie's on board. Okay, he's here now. It's okay. It's quite a regular occurrence that not everybody can make it here at the start. Okay, and Dobie says, yeah, goosewing. I've done that. Backwind, one sail and the opposite. Yes, goosey, but in light wind fun. Yes, absolutely. So at this stage in the game, I think that's all we've got time for. No more preloaded questions. Get over to totaljoyrider.com, buy a t-shirt. Send me some pictures of these different traveler cars if you know about them. Otherwise, thanks very much for joining me today, and I will be seeing you very soon with some more on Joyrider TV. Thanks very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you.